Hey, welcome, buddy, to the Sunday Show, the show with a shitty name because I couldn't think of anything better, so it just went with the Sunday Show, and it's kind of stuck. So anyways, this is the weekend report edition. It's got me, myself, Manai, also with Dragnot, Christian Anarchist, CRISPR, Ozpin, and Richard, and we're going to be talking about Hurricane Harvey, Aron, Gary, and Ronnie. Kind of four forces of nature, but for different reasons, I guess. So let's get right into it. Let's start off because there's a lot of stuff I want to get into. Let's talk about Hurricane Harvey because I've been looking at some of the pictures and wow, Houston looks like it's one gigantic swimming pool. I've never seen so much water in a major city ever, and this is something like they say is a hurricane of like 1 in 500 years that dropped this much amount of water at one time. So I mean, you got your nose to the ground on it more than anybody, Drag, because you have obviously a vested interest in what's going on there. Although you are safe, you're not in Texas, right?
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. My kid and my wife in the background. Yeah, I'm at my parents' house. I'm about an hour and 50 minutes from Nephilim Free right now, actually, over in Mississippi. So yeah, we did evacuate. Like early Saturday morning. I want to say Friday morning. Yeah, Friday morning. Excuse me. We evacuated Friday morning. It's about a 5-hour drive. I live on the outside of Houston, even though our address says Houston. We physically live outside of the Highway 8 Beltway, and so we do live near a bayou, that a body of water that people see in some of my videos. That is a bayou that is up the street from nature preserve. One of the major reasons why we did decide to move, and as I say, decide to evacuate, is because that bayou will flood. It is low. It is normally about 4 to 5 feet. It's not very big at all, but when you have torrential flow fairly easily, but this time, amazingly enough, it did not, well, as of yet. So rather than risk waking up, walking outside, and there being an alligator in my driveway, I said, you know what, let's go ahead and just spend some time with my family and just wait the storm out. But as far as I know, as far as I'm being told, my apartment's fine. Amazingly enough, it did not flood. And the issue now is that I'm looking at an interactive map of Texas, and I'm not physically able to get back yet, even though there is no flooding. There's large bands of road closures and flooding for the highways on I-10, and so that's keeping us from leaving, honestly. But there are people who are deeper in Houston, and they're having to move their vehicles. Seeing pictures now where there's a guy who caught a catfish in his living room, and so they're going to eat that for dinner. So, but there's only been 3 deaths, amazingly enough. People are fortunate.
I think it's been up to 5. I think I read 5 somewhere.
Now, okay, yeah, one of them was due to a fire. I think that was sparked from lightning. But my cousin's wife's school is there's, from as far as I know, a few of her co-workers have lost their homes. A few of her students have lost their homes. And there is an active live wire inside the school. So they're not going to be going to school until sometime next month, until they can get the live wire under control, as well as the flooding. I don't know what my son's school looks like. My school is fairly high up. I don't think there's any damage. I've not been told. But it's pretty bad. Like, they haven't had any flooding or anything like this in the last 20 years. But yeah, it's unfortunate. But the risk that you take, closer you live inland. But you know what? I've been through worse. I've been through Hurricane Katrina, where I've lost everything that I've had. So, this is kind of like a drop in the bucket. The worst that could happen, of course, I'd be dying. Has not happened. So I've been up to that point. So unfortunately, you do have some very, very stubborn people who wanted to stay, even though they lived right in the path of the hurricane, and some of them probably paid the price for it. Having good judgment is one of the best things you can do. But at this point in time, I would like to go back home. It's been fun visiting my folks, but I do have certain skill sets that would be useful in times like this. I still remember a lot from my medical training, as far as being an EMT, a combat medic. I still, remember how to work as part of a unit toward a goal for humanitarian purposes. That's something I give you. So I was hoping I could, but I spoke to my cousin, who is a law enforcement officer in the area, and he has told me to stay. When I'm able to come back home and bring my family, then do it, and he'll let me know. But right now, I'm just pretty much grounded.
Yeah, I saw the roads. I mean, literally the roads in Houston, the highways themselves, the main thoroughpasses are completely underwater. And I'm talking like 10 feet of water, it looks like. So I don't see how anybody's even getting in and out of the city.
Well, they can't. A lot of people are trapped. My cousin's wife lives in Baytown, and she has my little brother with her, and they can't leave. Her dad was actually trapped this morning for about 5 hours because he, for some reason, went to work, and he tried to come back home from work, and he physically could not get across the water, so someone had to go and rescue him 5 hours later.
Wow. Is anybody else new in the area? I mean, I know. Welcome, Living Dinosaur. I invited him to drop in for a few. I know you're having a little cooking with your family here, but you're not anywhere near that area, right?
No, my daughter is though. She's at Rice, so okay. Luckily her dorm room's on the 3rd floor, so I think she'll be okay.
She's actually in the Houston area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that seems to have gotten the worst of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's maybe 10 minutes from downtown, but apparently Rice is on a elevated area, so it's not getting it as bad as a lot of other places.
Yeah, it's the lower level areas, right? The depressions; those are all getting filled with a huge amount of water. So,
right.
Well, I'm glad everybody's okay. I was
there last year when it flooded. It doesn't take much to flood Houston.
Is it just poorly built, or they don't have a lot of drainage systems, or is just the fact that this locality?
It's really low lying. It's essentially built on a swamp anyway, so they've stuck concrete all over it, and the drains just aren't big enough to handle it. I read somewhere that it costs, for every square the concrete over, costs about $1 million in future flood damage.
Well, Drag says, I mean, isn't your apartment there outside of a bayou? How did that not get flooded way out of control? If you're by a bayou, I mean, I mean, I'm glad that your apartment's okay, clearly, but I mean, how did it get saved from that? Drag? Oh, okay. Guess he's not there at the moment. Is anybody else near this area, or does anybody else have any actual accounts that they can kind of give us of what's going on over there?
I am not, but my friend Naomi lives in Houston, and she said that the flooding is nearby her house. I can get some details if you would like me to.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like I said, I'm just going by the news reports and the pictures. From I can tell though, I haven't seen anything like this that bad in a major city.
I shall send her a message then.
But if somebody if people you know
However, she
are
does
there,
live in Houston, so there might be a delay.
Well, I'm surprised they still have internet
She's still
connection.
There.
I'm surprised these people even have power.
It's she does not, and it's a cell phone that has a sat link.
Okay. So most of that area is out of power. Then I take it, right?
Her area is, yeah. At least last time I talked to her, which was a couple hours ago.
Is the worst kind of over? I mean, I haven't checked the meteorological reports, but has the hurricane kind of moved on a little bit? Has it dissipated, lost energy? Because usually a hurricane, once it leaves landfall, tends to lose energy pretty quickly.
I don't know, and she couldn't tell from where she was.
Okay. How about you, Heretic? Are you in that area at all? Oh, go ahead, Living.
Yeah, right.
Well, you're in a trailer park kind of thing, so I just assume everywhere you live is flooded.
Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold. But
we appear to have a trespasser.
Is that Mr. Heretic?
Yeah. That's my husband.
Yeah.
Fault right there.
No,
you should have him join one of us.
I was busy welding stuff in the basement.
Heretic, have you met the Living Dinosaur? I don't remember.
We were in a hangout briefly, but I don't think we've been formally introduced.
Okay.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, Heretic has a channel as well called the Atheist Beyond the Trail Apart.
Up with his picture.
The budgie
profile picture.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't even know the story behind that. What is the story behind that?
I don't know if he's here.
Oh,
but I just realized what it was, and I'm now curious.
Living Dinosaur, what was the story behind your budgie there? I don't remember.
He was a pet of mine. He died a few years ago, but it was a nice shot I took of him. So,
good-looking bird, though. Good-looking bird.
Nice little guy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Friday night, Atheist Ranger asked me to do a live response video to a G-Man video, and I've never watched a whole rant of G-Man.
I'm sorry.
And wow, but the funny part was he was going on and on about how all us atheists are just slaves to Steve and Dragnot.
Well, yeah,
and everything that you guys say, we just robotically follow you.
Which is funny because I'm not an atheist, I'm agnostic, but it's kind of funny because actually they call Dragnot the king of black people, and they call me the Pope of G+. I don't know how we got these titles, but
yeah, that was like me and him have huge disagreements over this agnostic atheist thing, and.
Oh yeah.
So I'm apparently you own me, Steve. I didn't know about this.
I know.
I don't know. Apparently I get owned all the time.
He said that Steve's not really agnostic. There's really no such thing, and
agnostic pertains to like belief.
Well, we'll get into the G-Man. We'll get into the G-Man thing, Heretic. We'll get in. Well, you're a proper atheist.
And agnostic. That's relevant to knowledge.
Heretic is a proper atheist, but we'll get into some of that stuff with G-Man. I don't want to skip ahead because I got a lot to say about G-Man because of the conditions. G-Man
and it was funny because he was going on about how, you know, his stupid shit about atheists don't exist and yada, but he was complaining about Steve's definition of atheist.
Well, actually, like, it's not my definition, but that's okay.
I know, but that's what he was
Do you guys want to skip ahead to Gary, or do you want to talk about Aron first? It's your guys' call.
I'm a fanboy, so you know my answer.
Aron? You're a fan of Gary. I got it. Okay.
No.
You heard it, Ozpin right here. Ozpin Crane is a fan of G-Man from his own lips. You heard it.
I need a chip for this bullshit.
Yeah, well, since we're already on Gary, might as well continue down this line so we don't like move all about the place. Well, anyways, G-Man just had a video I was just watching, and I watched part of your thing with Atheist Ranger. Yeah, wasn't much getting into it. Had a few other things, but I watched a little bit of it. I try to watch all the channels, you know. So, but he had a thing he just had on, and he has every right to be upset that people were leaving bad reviews on his work, right? Especially people that have never been in there. I've said it countless times. If you do that, you're a dick. Okay, straight up, you're a dick. The one person, Sal, who had left one of the reviews. The other day in Dragnot's Hangout, we had discussed it with him. He was in the live chat. He realized he was a dick, and he actually removed that particular review. Okay, so there was some hope there. Okay. Let's see, what's his name? Alex Botten. He went in and he changed his 1-star rating to a 5-star rating and changed his big old long review that he made up to just something like, you know, great place or something, cool place or whatever he said. But the problem is that Aron. The problem is that Alex has never been into his work, into G-Man's work. He had no business leaving a review of any kind, and I think Alex Botten was a dick for doing it. Even if he left 5 stars, you don't leave false reviews. That's just, you don't mess with somebody's work. Now, before I turn it over, here's the downside of this. Even though I empathize with G-Man because I'm not an asshole, G-Man constantly over the last year alone has threatened to dox where Hana works, has threatened to reveal Reg Rhetoric's face, which would, by the way, I've seen his face. You guys don't want to see it. If he reveals it, it could do permanent damage to the internet and to your retina, worse than the solar eclipse. He's just not a good-looking guy. And let's see. He's also threatened to, back when I was living with
Lyrical. He threatened to do it when we were in New York.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah. When I was living with Lyrical, he threatened to call her, which she was my landlord, and have me evicted. Right? and threatening to dox me, even though this is my real name with my real information. And if you really care where I live, my address is out there as well. So he's threatening to do all the same things. And by him threatening to have me evicted, right? How is that any different than people messing with his work? Now, I don't condone any of it. Let me make that very clear. You do not mess with people's livelihoods. You don't mess with their real life stuff. If you want to be a part of the internet and this community, that is just unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. But anyways, you know, Drag, why don't you go on from there, because you were actually with G-Man and he had made these statements in front of you.
Yeah, it's one of the things that that he wanted to do initially when Redline came around and all of us came around. Is I was going to, like he said later, I was going to whip up my phone and say, take a picture of a Redline. And I'm like, why would you say some shit like that? Why would you do that? Like, people came to get me. I came there at the behest of Redline, but initially it was G-Man begging to see me, and there were several videos he made wanting to see me. Hey, Drag, now we me and you gonna meet up. Hey, Drag, we're gonna see each other. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So interesting now that he's now regretting his decision to meet people, even though he was the one that wanted to do it. But it seems now he just wanted leverage over people who weren't being malicious to him.
And people that are honestly being nice to him. These people were actually being nice to them. There was no feigning being nice, except for Red. Red actually does hate him, and that's no joke. They do not like each other.
Red sent me a text message today reminding me that G-Man purposely antagonized him too, and then admitted it to Hannah. Like, while we were all having a good time, he was purposely antagonizing. Redline had to walk away because he was so pissed at G-Man. Like, it was that bad. Like, everyone else, literally, everyone else having a good time, enjoying this, but G-Man, being fucking malicious and fucking probably jealous that he was messing with Hannah, wanted to be a dick.
Probably jealous.
And it's just, it's sad. Like, it's really, really sad when you think about it. Like, it's hard. Like, I understand it pissed off Redline, but it's pathetic. Once you think about a grown-ass man that has to, like, do, like, middle school shit like that, it's really, really pathetic. And it tells you, okay, what type of person G-Man is.
Now, see, I didn't know that people were they leaving, like, Yelp reviews or something on his work?
Yeah, he's calling it the bit.
See, I thought that people were just going to the employer and saying, hey, did you know this guy is like making hours worth of video on your dime?
People in the live feed saying that Alex didn't change his review. I had heard that Alex did leave a longer post that people had seen and he changed it. Now, if that's not true, let me know. But there is a review on Alex's post. It's 5 stars, and he wrote something underneath it. And somebody had actually said he had changed that.
What you said, like a qualification.
Okay, so he has. Go ahead.
If, like, we tell him, hey, this guy's working on your dime to make these videos about people.
Yes.
Oh, his boss
is that acceptable?
Yeah, his boss knows.
Or is it just flat out?
No. Okay, so I guess
kind of agree in both ways, but, like, I do kind of say if he's making these videos while he's supposed to be working, then his boss deserves to know.
Yeah,
okay, let me clarify. His boss fully knows. I guess Alex Botten left. I'm getting that Alex Botten left a 1-star rating with no comment. Then he changed to a 5-star rating and left a little comment saying something, right? Something, and I don't remember what it was. It was kind of innocuous, not news neutral or whatever. But I mean, it's still being as Alex had no business leaving a comment on there, and he should delete it completely. But go ahead.
Well, what really had no bearing on G-Man's job? Like the comment that had a bearing on his job was something that Sal made, where he fabricated a scenario meeting G-Man yelling and being belligerent like he is, and then saying that, hey, do you know who I am? I'm G-Man on the internet, whatever. That's what G-Man wrote, was reading out. But the thing is, he somehow threw Alex Botten's name in there as if Alex Botten had written that, and he did not.
Well, what did Alex Botten write initially? Because they're saying that he left it blank. He never wrote anything.
Nothing.
Okay?
He didn't write anything.
Okay, he just left a 1-star comment with no entry. Okay. Which is still pretty big.
And so later, Alex Botten changed it to like a cool place to be or something like that, which he didn't have to do, which is whatever. Like it really had no bearing on G-Man personally.
The best of the rest,
you could
or
say
something.
Yes, the business. Like it was so innocuous. Like no one would really pay it. Like if you were reading that and you didn't know who Alex Botten was, no one would have cared because it just seemed weird to have a 1-star rating but then give it a good review. But the comment said about his job was a fabricated scenario that had nothing to do with Alec Botton. And so now it seems as though G-Man's using that from a completely different person to then blame Alex Botton for something he didn't do.
Right.
And it's so weird, but it's like, I just want to clarify that.
That makes a little more sense. Yeah, it was Sal's cause.
Doesn't that feel like an easy thing to do?
Well, yeah, it was totally. But here, see, I guess Sal wrote a lot. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but that guy Sal wrote a longer comment giving details about him going into the store and get bad service. Then he deleted that, changed it to something like cool place or whatever, and then he deleted it altogether after you and I got on him and doing the live feed. Now, to me, Sal's issue's done. Sal realized he was a dick. He took it off. I have nothing else to say about that matter. It's resolved in my eyes.
Comments that he left on my channel acknowledging what he did was shitting. Like, there's no illusion. He's not tried to sugarcoat it. He has acknowledged that for what it is.
Okay.
That's why I said if Botton and Sal want to do something for G-Man to help him to keep his job, whatever, that's on them. But
I think they just leave it alone.
It just seems weird to me that even after the perpetrator has admitted what happened, now like it seems as though blame is being shifted to Botton, which the original issue didn't really involve him, to that degree. Does that make sense?
Right, but
like,
it's bringing up old things.
The one-star review.
Yeah, and
like
obviously
the one-star review wasn't the issue at all. The issue was this fabricated scenario that showed G-Man in some type of ill light.
And G-Man, G-Man keeps calling it the Better Business Bureau. This is not a Better Business Bureau thing.
I don't know where he got that from.
I'm not sure.
But then again, it's like, well, that right there actually kind of reaffirms something in my mind. If he can't even pay attention to detail to tell a story that just happened, that is literally like upsetting him and costing him his job, how much attention to detail is he paying towards his own job? Because this whole thing started when a customer brought back some kind of appliance, and supposedly it was not cleaned well enough, and that's when the dispute began. I'm more inclined to believe that G-Man was negligent in his job to begin with, and that's what sparked this. And it just, the attention to detail that he does not pay in general, translated into real life and his job, yes.
And that's why I want to be. That's why I want to have the details correct. That's why when we go over this stuff, I want the information to be correct.
Just on that video alone, it was a 45-minute video, and I think he left the camera like 3 or 4 times to go talk to customers, but he was never gone for more than 30 seconds. Like, how do you deal with? Like, I spent years in retail. It's
New Jersey. That's how they do it. I'm not even going to fault him for that. I don't think that's... I think that's kind of the way it is over there. I mean, again, I don't want to get into his customer service practices. I mean, obviously, and I think Drag is right to an extent early on in a video that Drag had, that G-Man is partly responsible for his own actions here. When he was told, don't go outside and film, you have the name of your business, stop doing that, he kept on saying things like, no, I'm not, blah, blah. He kept within this world of denial when people were trying to help him. The people that he's blaming are the people that actually have gone out of their way to try to help him. He's taking these few isolated instances and applying them ubiquitously across the internet and G+ to everybody. And it's like, no, most of us, 99% of us, are good, honest people that aren't not trying to fuck with you, G-Man. But we do get on the 1% that do stuff like that.
He's under the impression that everyone's kind of out to get him, and then no matter what you do, he's going to somehow twist it. And that's why I like trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, because he'll show you his true colors at the end of the day. He'll show you how dishonest he is. He'll show you what little he actually thinks of people and how he will not take responsibility.
And that's why I used to let him on my channel. Who else does G-Man sound like?
Like, I mean, that's that's exactly that's G-Man to a T.
Yeah, but who else does that remind you of? Who else does that remind you of?
Oh, his little partner in crime?
Yeah. I mean, Ronnie's the exact same way. They literally are two peas in a pod. I can't even distinguish them when it comes to
Why do you think he's taking up for him now? Why do you think he's now trying to start a fundraiser for G-Man? Because I don't think that's going to work, because he's burned so many bridges between both quote-unquote communities that who's going to want to actually help him? Like, it's sad that he did lose his job, but who wants to help somebody who will turn around and slander you in a heartbeat?
Wait,
did he actually lose his job?
No, he didn't say he lose his job. He said if he lost his job.
Yeah,
which is, again, he said if he lost his job, he was going to get a plane ticket. If he lost his job, I don't think he could afford to fly to Europe, but he was going to go to Europe and and punch Alex or something, or do something to Alex, it's like, oh, that's that. So that's your Christianity coming out, and he's like, well, I'm telling my brothers in Christ that this is what I would do, and I know they're going to get mad at that. I'm like, do you not understand? If you're going to profess to be a Christian and then you just throw it away when it's not convenient to be Christian anymore, what's the hell is the point?
Yeah.
I have no respect for that.
I mean, I think that just his religious beliefs tend to be a shield for his shitty behavior. And more so than him, like I genuinely do think that he does believe, but as far as what he professes and him trying to emulate, his patron deity, I think he doesn't actually make a concerted effort to do it because it's inconvenient towards the person he knows that he wants to be, which is a shitty human being, a very vengeful, a very petty, a very spiteful human being.
I'm not hearing a contradiction with him acting like.
I think you're describing about 50% of the Christians I've met.
Yeah.
I think it comes, the Christianity part is an excuse to better about what a bunch of dicks they are.
That seems to be
I'm
the
not
case.
saying non-religious people aren't dicks either.
And then you apologize to your deity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No,
That's what you did.
It's like, I can be a dick as long as I go and repent later.
This has been happening like as far back as the Crusades. Like they had priests that would be like, whatever you do is fine.
Well, I think that Living Dinosaur makes a good point. And maybe the number is about half. But the ones that do follow that, I've noticed that as well. I mean, they think that because they have this special connection with their deity, they can do some pretty shitty things, say pretty shitty things. For example, just the other day, did you guys read about Scott Bale's wife?
Yes.
What she said about the, give the mother of the Sandy Hook victim. How disgusting was that?
And she ends it with, "I'll pray for you."
Yeah,
I'm like, I will smack you upside the head, bitch. Like
that. I hate that line. That feels so.
I do too.
Yeah, I don't like
that
that line.
feels so scummy.
Exactly. And I've heard it said, like, behind every, nice and smiley "I'll pray for you" is a little bit of "fuck you."
I feel like that's just the line.
Exactly.
Well, do you guys know what happened with that? Do you guys know the story?
I'd rather you did something to help, right?
Exactly.
Do you know the story?
But
What she said in the tweet? Heretic. Did you read the tweet? Full tweet. Do you guys know the story on that? Because it's pretty new, and you may have missed it. Okay, so Scott Bale has turned into a nutter as he gets older, right? And he's very political. Yeah. And he retweeted a conspiracy about Sandy Hook being a false flag. Okay, Scott Bale was a what is his name? Chachi? Yeah, from Happy Days. But anyway, he was a child actor. Now he's a political advocate, works on campaigns. But he been promoting this concept or this idea that Sandy Hook was a conspiracy, and these guys were crisis actors and shit. Well, anyways, one of the Sandy Hook mothers was just livid, and Scott Bale's wife decided to tweet out something like, "Well, you know what? Maybe your daughter's in a better place now because she doesn't have to see your ugly face. I'll pray for you." Something along those lines. Paraphrasing, but it's pretty damn close.
She said the mother, she said maybe your children, I don't know if the woman lost more than one, but Bao's wife said children are in a better place because they're away from your ugliness.
Yeah, your ugliness.
I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
And the other thing was Bao was saying that Heather Hayer's mother was really a crisis actor and the same person as the mother of this child who died in Sandy Hook. And there was the retweet was like a picture of each woman.
Yeah, it was
trying
about
to say
the retweet was actually on Charleston.
And,
yeah, the retweet was from Charleston, Charlottesville. Sorry,
can
Charlottesville.
I just point something out really
compared
quick?
to Sandy Hook. Yeah.
Why would false flag attack, right? I hear that term tossed around a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, what happened? Why would? Because right now the government is majority Republican, majority right wing. Why? What's the point right now? Why and how?
And what they want though, because they're too fucking incompetent to do it.
I'm saying, like, if they wanted to play the victim, like the victim card would be for their side. It should have been someone on the right, like one of the Nazis getting killed, not one of the people on the left that were against
I don't know their agenda on it.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. All I can tell you is
I'm just saying.
Every time I've asked
a bit of a nutter too, and I kind of fell into that, and like that's how I would evaluate things. Like, does this make sense for this like thing? and it doesn't. It just doesn't.
Every time I've asked a con nutter what the end game is, what's the point to, like, let's say I believe everything you're telling me, what's the point? No one's ever been able to give me an answer.
Yeah, and long story short, it was a shitty thing for them to do. Right? I mean, you don't tweet.
Yeah,
you don't,
absolutely.
You don't tweet to a grieving mother what she tweeted. That's just beyond reprehensible. It's despicable.
It was.
That's the takeaway from all this,
Really?
right?
Her child is dead. She gets to be as ugly as she fucking wants to. I'm sorry. I need to.
You just forgive her anyway. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I need to watch my language a little bit. I'm sorry.
But it was. Oh, I don't give a shit. This is the Sunday show. Say the fuck you want. I don't have anybody really. I mean, I've already.
Titties.
Yeah, I mean, we.
I was like, what? You're not supposed to say fuck? Oh no.
Well, I mean, all that demonetization shit going on, but you know, whatever. We'll see what happens. I don't think anybody's gonna watch the middle of this going, oh my god, they said fuck 3 times in a row. Demonetize, whatever. But.
By the way, Steve, if we can't say fuck, I'm out of a job.
Oh yeah, because you're the surrogate fucker. By the way, anybody who doesn't know,
I'm the surrogate fuck.
If you guys don't want to curse because of religious reasons or whatever, whatever.
Because if I start,
if you don't want to,
I'll just swear every other word.
I gotta do.
If you don't see, that's my job. If you don't want to say fuck, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, just let Heretic know. She'll say fuck for you. She's our surrogate fucker. Okay. You know?
Yep.
That's what you mean by surrogate fucker.
That's what I mean by surrogate fucker. What do you think I meant, you dirty fuck? Wow, Mike, you got a dirty
I'll just
mind.
leave it at that. I'm not gonna.
Her husband's just out of.
Keep in mind, I'm in Canada. I'm a little far away.
Yeah, and her husband's just out of field of view. So.
Cold a lot of the year. They gotta keep warm somehow.
Yeah.
And my husband not only knows martial arts, but he knows how to use a welding torch really well.
I know more Canadians right now than I do Americans. I just realized.
That's okay. I probably know 10 Americans for every Canadian atheiist I know. So
moving on a little bit. So whenever you guys see G-Man, go mention to him of his hypocrisy, because he's threatened to dox people. He's threatened to have people evicted. Somebody had mentioned I don't know if this is true. Maybe I'll ask Drag. Did he try calling Alex's work at one time or something?
Yeah, I actually shared something the other day to the GDC that he was doing that was kind of scummy.
Yeah, supposedly he was trying to, somebody, we believe is G-Man, because this person mentioned suing him, but we believe it was G-Man calling around trying to find Alex's personal information. Wow. And I'm not even sure if Alex Bodden is real. I could have sworn that was a pseudonym, unless I have him confused with someone else. But yeah, no.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, no, he's been the guy who's also spread around some pretty salacious rumors about Fiona cheating on her husband, Alex Bodden, while he was married. Who was it? The Jackie was going around, dropping M-bombs everywhere. There's a whole host of things that it's really unsavory about G-Man, and so I have to kind of remember these things when shit comes up, because he does threaten to do some of this stuff, and he has tried to, there's been so much shit. He has tried to actually sue the Atheist Experience because they told him not to,
for fuck's
broadcast
sake.
their live content, and so that's kind of his go-to. Oh, I'll sue, and so that's why many people, including myself, believe that person looking for Alex Bodden's information was G-Man.
Wow.
And I think that he was also, didn't he threaten to try and call the constables or something like that over something that what's his name, Cliff Jumper had said to him?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jade, go ahead.
Okay, good. Just checking. Yes. He threatened. Oh, he also threatened to call the police on Alex more than once. I've been watching old videos of G-Man. He said that because Alex dock dropped him, and I think we all know Alex did not dock drop him. He dock dropped himself. If anything, Alex was trying to tell him he dock dropped himself. Anyone found out where he lived, he would call the cops on Alex because it was Alex's fault. He said this more than once. But yes, he wanted to call the cops on Cliff Jumper. He was going to call the police in the UK on Cliff Jumper.
Ooh, getting a little wind there. Hey, Living, I'm gonna mute you for a sec. Oh, there it's better. Also, I should note that during that whole time with the DMCAing stuff with Ronnie, G-Man, I had heard through other people, G-Man was asking, because the you had to put your real address down and stuff like that. He was asking for my real address so he could dox me on that. Which is, by the way, anybody wants to know my real address, you can go find it. I've actually registered my domain under it, so I don't care. Come at me. I've got ex-Marines living here. I've got somebody here that's 350 pounds that would take your head and shove it into a wall, won't even think twice. Come on down, we'll have lunch. So I'm not intimidated, right? But I mean, for him to threaten to do these things and then gets pissed off when people actually do it to him. I mean, for how long did he have this feigned indignation that, oh, you're doxing me because you used my name, Gary? Well, when he first got to the internet, that's what he asked to be called multiple times. Gary. It's on his PayPal. It's on his websites. It's on everything that he has is Gary. I'm not gonna say his last name only because just I don't want to get the hassle. But you know, that's what he wanted to go by. You're not doxing somebody when your information's already out there and you've asked people to call you that. If Jade right now said, hey, you know what? Don't call me Jade. That's doxing. I'd tell her to fuck off. Okay, because that's what she's known as. So I'd call her something else, but just because we go back and say, you remember when she was Jade, that's not doxing. It doesn't work like that, okay?
Right. No, and like I said, G-Man at one time told everybody to call him Gary. He said Gary or G-Man, either one is fine.
Right.
And then he decided he only wanted to become known as G-Man. That's fine. You can do that. Like Steve said, I could suddenly say, I don't want you to use my first name anymore. I want you to call me Miliagris Felis or Turkey Cat. No longer call me Jade, call me Turkey Cat. Okay. Well, that would be my request, but I couldn't get mad at someone for using my real name since I've used it for years.
Yeah, I mean,
that's like here I have heretic women, but my Facebook is 100% public. It says where my hometown is. Like, I don't give a fuck. And if somebody was like, "Oh my God, Deborah," and I said, "Oh, you doxed me," that would be fucking stupid because it's everywhere.
Yeah. However, my Facebook, I would say that my Facebook says that I live on the island of Svalbard.
Well, I originally put down Dildo Newfoundland, but then I decided I didn't care where people
but even
knew
still,
where
people's
I am,
first names, I mean, if they generally don't go by it, for example, like Drag, I've known Drag's first name for ages, but he never really went by it, right? And it's just a messed up first name. I'm not going to call him by it anyways. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, I
mention every time G-Man threatens to dox people, I tell people my real name.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like he really cares.
There you go.
Well, and I've told people my real name, and my Facebook's under my real name. And of course, the thing I've told people for ages, I'm an old woman. I own guns. Come and get me. No one would.
That's what we love, Jade. She's like exactly like me. Come on, you know.
Well, and see, my thing is, I live in Canada. Good luck getting over the border with a gun, asshole.
Yeah.
Fair point. Fair point.
And my husband's a second-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu and Japanese weaponry. Good luck there too.
So, anyways, move on a little bit, I guess. More. Let's move on to Ronnie. We can't have a Sunday show at least having a Ronnie section. So he, I guess he made a video trying to, support his buddy G-Man, making things 10,000 times more worse because I don't think Ronnie has a clue what's going on. I did like one thing he said. Ronnie was right about this, and I don't say that often. So when Ronnie does something right, I have to make note of it. Right? That's only being fair. Yeah, it's minor, but he actually, agreed that if you have not interacted with G-Man and his work, you shouldn't fucking leave a review. And if you did, come on, you don't mess with a person's work. I can't fault Ronnie for putting that out. He's absolutely right. But he's trying to play this card now. Well, look at this. This is what the atheist community does. He is actually applying it to atheists. Now, I don't know if G-Man is per se, but Ronnie most certainly is. To him, it is the all the atheists on G+ and the internet. They are doing this to G-Man. Oh, look at that kitty. Damn, that cat is huge. That's a monster.
Hey, hello. Cat. She was yowling at me. She's the small one.
That's a goddamn tiger. Look at the size of that thing. Her head's big as yours.
Yeah. Squealing from here.
This is Kylie. She was crying at me for attention. So.
So did you guys watch that, Drag? Did you watch little Ronnie going, oh, well, you know, atheists are so evil. I mean, I think it was even in his title, wasn't it? Something like atheist.
My wife said that he went live, and she gave me the gist of what was going on. And I'm like, man, if you can sit and listen to Ronnie, you know, just give me the Cliff Notes version.
That's what I do.
And supposedly, you know, yeah, because it's like listening to him, like, it's supposedly he was trying to work out beforehand or something. Like he had the. Was he? I don't know. Another video, but
no. He in one of his videos, he had the whole gym set there. He's like, "I'm just about ready to work out. Look at my big old muscles because I'm right." Because you know,
that was a different video then. Excuse me, I get confused. But I sorry, I had an off-air talk with somebody about these tough guy moments that G-Man and True want to like show people. And I'm like, sorry, people, those of us who have been a tough guy at one point in time of our life, we're not impressed by that. So I honestly wish they'd stop it because it just makes them look stupid. But anyway, but no, he's smart. He will use these opportunities to capitalize on this situation and kind of put forth the narrative that he needs to put forth. And so he knows his channel's dying, and he knows he can garner support because this is something that is legitimately terrible, and pretty much everyone agrees. So if he wants to use the Christian persecution complex, then he will. He will literally take his friend's tragedy and co-opt it to improve his own standing and his own, viewers. And it's kind of sick once you think about it.
What a pathetic human being. I mean,
it's
Ronnie
under the guise of him being a good Christian, but it's not. Because if he was accurate, if he really wanted to help, he would say, you know, these people doing this, these two gentlemen that we've identified are despicable, whatever, yada 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 yada. Instead, he needs to label the entire, like every person with the identifier as a non-believer is now responsible for this. And he knows that he's purposely sloppy with the language so that he can put forth this idea that all of us are just inherently evil. And that's why I tell people that Ronnie has no problem lying. That's why Ronnie is routinely dishonest. He has no intention of being a genuine person. And that's why every chance that I will get, I will shit on Ronnie.
Yeah, and Ronnie did go out of his way to attribute the comment that Sal left to Alex.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we clarified it. We got it straight. But he actually went out of his way to say that Alex was leaving these comments, and all of a sudden Alex is speaking for all atheists. Just like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
They think we're the leaders of some kind, right? They don't seem to understand things. Like the Great Debate community is a community. That's what a community means, right? And God knows people don't agree with me on certain things, right? That's what makes it interesting. I don't have minions to go out and control the masses. It doesn't work like that. God help me if I tried. But the backlash would be huge.
Well, and let's not forget that, for example, if he decides to talk about this show, if he or G-Man or anyone else in the Clown Car Posse, if they talk about this show, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say the atheists were doing this, the atheists were doing that. How many people in here are not atheists?
1, 2,
How many
3,
people here
4,
Christian?
5.
Here's a few of us.
5 that I can count right off the top of my head. So 6.
So
1, 2,
there,
3,
but
4,
they do that
5.
repeatedly.
6. Yep, 6.
You know, they say, "Oh, the atheists had a hangout," and the atheists, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, a lot of times you have Fiona and I are in there. Sometimes Max is in there, or General, or Wayne, or so many other people. But it's the atheists.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you hang out with us, we just make you become one of us somehow.
Oh, yeah.
I guess.
Not only
It's
that,
the
but
magic.
because you're not... Go ahead.
I was just to say, it's our magic atheist power. We just kind of go, bzz, you're an atheist.
Well, speaking of atheists, how about we move on
I have
to...
a question. What was going on with... I have a question. What was going on with Ronnie again? Like, he was capitalizing on... What happened with G-Man?
G-Man, the whole people writing reviews for G-Man's work.
Basically, there are 2 people that are responsible for it, and so now Ronnie has taken this to mean every other person that shares non-belief with these 2 people are also responsible.
And do you know what I've noticed? Both of them have conspicuously left out. Neither of them have said, "Hey, look, thank you, Steve, thank you, Drag, thank you, Hogtie, thank you et al. For those people that are saying that this was a shit move from people." They have not noted at all that we have actually put it out there that we do not agree with this in any way, shape, or form. We have denounced it. Neither one of have ever mentioned any of that. Have you noted that? Because I have.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they can't have that because that would dispel their little fantasy that you're all evil.
Well, people are saying if I did ask people to go do something to control them, they would actually be doing it. So yeah, that's cool. Thanks. I have a few minions. Everybody with a spanner, you hear that? You do what I tell you, bitch.
Hey,
that's
money,
why
you want me to.
That's why you don't use you just use an avatar, because the little waves of sound that come out, those like hypnotize everyone, so we do your bidding.
And obey.
Yeah, there we go.
So, anyways, let's move on.
Steve's trying to mind control us into atheism.
I know I'm the agnostic in the room. We got cookies, so I'm like in the middle ground, right? I choose no sides in this. I'm just about rational conversation. But as like the Living Dinosaur pointed out, 50% or more of the Christians I run into are just fucking nutters. Every young Earth creationist I know is a nutter, right? So there is some, obviously, the skepticism and the rationality. I tend to go to the atheist side. How could I not? But that's a different topic, though. But anyways, let's move on to one of the quintessential atheists that were in our midst the other day, which was Aron Ra, who actually took 2 days out to come join us. He was on the Great Debate community channel for a while with Richard moderating. He came on my channel to talk with Atheist Edge and other people, and then he actually stuck around, and we went back to the other channel for a while. So that was nice of him. So anyways, with Aron, you guys noticed what happened last night. Godless
I
Girl
spoke
came
to
in.
Aron a little bit. Well, I typed to him today in Skype about that exchange, and it's pretty humorous. But I mean, I say humorous.
He's not mad, right?
Mad would be an accurate depiction. He seemed.
Is he mad at me or mad at her?
I don't know.
Oh. Really?
He seemed, I guess,
irritated.
Just despondent about it, I guess, to be a more accurate word. Like it annoys him, but it's not one of those things that's not as like a sticking point where he's still kind of sulking about it. And honestly, because I had to agree with, I'm going to drink some Ozzy Kool-Aid right here. I think a part of the issue is that he became defensive because he didn't understand what they were asking. And I was too busy trying to get my internet to work here that I missed the first portion of it, and I kind of came in the middle where I heard, them asking. And so what I took away from it was that what would be disconfirmation, biological evolution. And so I think there's two ways you can approach that question. Historically, when it was first being formed, what would have been the criteria that would have been met to meet the null hypothesis, or what would be something, a hypothetical scenario today, like right now, that would discover that would not fit in that paradigm. So I think if there was more time for Aron to kind of sit down, relax, and address the question being asked, and have maybe parse out what they're looking for specifically, he may have provided a better answer. I don't know, but the fact that things kind of got hot and heavy real quick that led to his downfall.
What I don't understand is like why would that be relevant? Now, I'm not a science person.
Well, it's philosophy of science.
Also amazing something, but see, there's where you lost me.
Yeah. So let me try to parse this out a little bit. And by the way, Drag, I know you contact Aron a lot. I only talk to him every so often, but please
talk to him rarely.
Okay, well, next time you do, please extend my apologies again. I apologized to him the other day, and he was cool to me because we went to the Great Debate community. We had an after show, and he was fine. We were all laughing. It was very lighthearted. We had fun. So I know he likes those things, right? So, but please extend my apologies again, because he will be back. I know. But here's the thing.
Why would that even matter if we've proven evolution beyond
Well, let me explain the argument. Heretic. Let me explain the argument because Aron didn't get.
I kind of got what they were. I think I got what they were asking. I just don't know.
Well, what do you think the argument is then? What do you think Jerry Forder's argument for coextensive properties? What do you think the argument is?
The what? Huh?
Okay, never mind. Let me explain what it is because I don't think you guys get it. Okay. Jerry Forder has an argument where he purports that you cannot make a predictive thing for hypothesis of natural selection, given for every trait there's a coextensive trait that goes rides along with it. Okay, so they're called a coextensive property.
I got that. Yep.
That's dealing with the philosophy of science. Okay.
Okay.
Forder's inter-argument is interesting, but biologically to me irrelevant. And I've talked with Ozzy the other day too. I think most of us think it's biologically irrelevant. CRISPR is a biologist. Sam's a biologist. You know, CRISPR. Do you think it's biologically relevant of any really?
CRISPR is just a bundle of molecules.
He's just he's a protein.
Anything.
I mean, it's not just that I think it's biologically irrelevant. I think it's honestly every time I've ever heard the argument put forward, I think it's just silly.
Yeah.
You basically you're trying to. I don't even know how to put it. Other than just to say I think that it's not even wrong.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The whole point of it though was to do a gotcha to Aron, and I had asked. I had asked. Well, hang on. I had told Godless very clearly, do not make this like this. He just says, "Can Josh ask about this?" I'm like, yeah, because if you guys want to, I mean, fair question, right? But Godless took it to the extreme. That's why I ejected her, right? And I pointed out to Godless and to Joe Sonseed what Jack, Godless, and Josh did, in my opinion, is no different when Darwin's deity does. They have literally turned it into the thing that they hate.
Like,
because they have. What
was the point of trying to do that anyway? That's
I'll tell you in a second. I'll tell you in a second. I know the reason. But Aron is not philosophically sound. Let's be realistic here, okay? Aron is the first person to admit that. I love his biology to death. I think he's a great guy, but philosophically rather weak. They preyed on that. That is what Darwin's deity does when he goes around looking for white belts in philosophy. That's exactly what Darwin's does. So they have no room to talk because they did the exact same thing that Darwin's did. Now, the reason they did it, Heretic, because they want to be able to appeal to theists as well and say, look, oh, well, you know, we just don't go after theists. We've gone after atheists too, i.e. Aron. And this is why Josh is doing that, oh, well, I'm a theist now bullshit, right? So all they're doing is trolling at this point. To me, Josh, Godless, and Jack, as much as I think that they're knowledgeable, especially Jack, I've watched him interact with the academic agent on Helena's channel. I've watched him on the academics agent's channel. I think they've gone into Trollville. I really honestly do. What do you guys think?
Yeah, like I thought to myself, if you guys are atheists, what the fuck are you doing trying to trick Aron Ra into fucking up? Like,
well, I don't want us to kind of get this idea that because, well, Aron's on our side, quote unquote, that we can't be critical of him.
Sure,
and that's something I definitely wanted to avoid.
I'm not saying that either. I'm not saying that either. I'm just like, I just didn't understand what, like, it sounded like they were trying to say, hey, evolution could be wrong. And I'm thinking, what's the point of that?
Well, that's what Aron took
if
away.
You're not trying to say that.
Aron misunderstood, and I was trying to clarify, but God is being a screeching banshee, I couldn't get much in, right?
Yeah.
What they were trying to do, and Joe was right on this, and even Jack was right, okay? They were correct. To have a theory, you need to have a falsification criteria if you adhere to Karl Popper's falsificationism, right? So there has to be something that could falsify it. Aron was thinking that they were asking that what has falsified natural selection. And he's like saying, wait a minute, we know natural selection is true. There's nothing been that has falsified it. So they were kind of talking past each other.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting out of it.
Yeah.
Did anybody else listen to the exchange?
I have noticed that about Jack in previous hangouts that I've done, that he kind of, and a lot of them kind of just go in and badger people, just kind of bully people for not having as much philosophical knowledge as they do.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of that lately. Yes, I've noticed it too.
Yeah. Actually, when I kind of called him out for all the interruptions, and he was basically saying like, "Oh, well, I'm trying to save your time by interrupting you, and I'm making you waste your breath by making that stupid point." And I'm like, "Well, that's just totally arrogant, you know, to assume that you know what point that they're going to make."
Well, I think they've reached the point where
remember
they just
Godless was insisting that Aron answer a yes or no question that wasn't a yes or no question.
Right.
Yes.
I noted that as well. And somebody else had noted as well, it's like, well, have you stopped beating your wife kind of thing. That's exactly what it was. And I think they've gotten to the point where they think anybody who can scream the loudest and shut the other person down verbally by over-talking them wins the argument. I've seen that a lot. Jack has gone that way an awful lot lately. So that's just what I've been observing. And obviously Richard has as well. So, and I don't know why Jack does that. He doesn't need to. Jack is very knowledgeable in philosophy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wanted to say that what I put in the chat here, and I've heard this argument before, and they're trying to say there are these coextensive traits that travel together, right? This is, if you're going to propose that there are coextensive traits to travel together, you're going to have to propose a mechanism by which this could happen. Imagine that coextensive traits could travel together. How are these
there is a known
traits?
mechanism, though. There is a known mechanism for coextensive traits.
I know, but I want them to tell me what it is. You see what I'm saying? Most of the time when I hear people propose this argument, a clue what they're talking about. So,
well, the real insight of the argument, and Ozzy has pointed this out, is that what biologists actually do when they evaluate an evolutionary claim is that all natural selection will tell you is, if you have a figure for it or an experiment, is whether it passed through the filter, right? Because natural selection is a filter. Doesn't, it's not going to tell you why, right? You have to appeal to other theories for getting that. That's a different explanation. Particularly, I don't think that's a particularly deep insight. It's interesting. Particularly deep insight.
Did you watch that exchange last night, Sam?
I've heard them do it all the time. They just, it's one of the things I don't like about Josh, and he's a good friend of mine, is that there's this level of philosophical navel-gazing without, that a lot of people on here do, so I'm not going to single him out for it, but Jack does it as well, where devoid of information or the knowledge that it would require to actually understand these things empirically, I tend to do these types of analyses. Now, that's just my perception. I could be completely wrong in that. I would actually like to hear your guys' opinion on that characterization.
Well, why did Jack and Godless, why do they get so boisterous when they get in these discussions? I mean, they tend to try to dominate verbally rather than informationally.
I have no idea.
I mean, I've just seen it quite often with them. And I have nothing against any of them, right? I have a lot of respect for Jack and his knowledge, and I've patched things up with Godless.
They were making the same point again and again, and they just felt like it wasn't getting through. So they thought the way to bring it through was to just start shouting louder and louder, and then maybe from shouting.
But you don't harp on somebody. Oh, look, he won't answer a yes or no answer when it's not a yes or no question.
Yeah, that's only going to work on certain people. Like if that's. I can yell at G-Man all day long, but it's like yelling at wet paint. It's not going to do very much. Yeah, you have to actually understand who you're dealing with and adjust your method of engagement, as per that person. And so I don't think that just this propensity just to yell when you get upset isn't the way to go. But if they find that effective, then all of that's towards them. But I don't know if they had any ulterior motives. I kind of hear people hinting at that, but I just kind of know what I saw in the chat where they were praising, how much they defeated the great Aron Ron, how that accomplishment of some sort, and I thought that was kind of awkward.
Well, and as everyone has pointed out, he's not very adept in philosophy, so why go there?
Yeah, because this was not a biological question.
Social science with me.
Or if somebody gets into philosophy with me, I'm like, look, I don't know shit about philosophy. I don't like philosophy. Don't go there. It's not my thing.
But see, I'm trying to avoid the situations where people trying to go in to try to ask questions, specifically trying to catch somebody, right? As a catch, let me catch you in something kind of thing. These are supposed to be dialogues. These are supposed to be people having conversations. That's not the point to come in and try to trip up Aron on something clearly it's probably not going to be that knowledgeable of, because it is dealing with philosophy of science. And they've ran this across numerous people. There's answers to this stuff. If they really wanted to know the technical details, why don't they ask Sam? Why don't they ask CRISPR? Why don't they even ask Jade? Why would they ask somebody who isn't really much into the philosophy of science? That's the only reason was to try to trip them up, and they're proud of it. They've gone on bragging, which I think, to me, the whole interaction just made Godless look horrible. It made her look like a screaming, banshee.
Well, she did. And when she started with, well, I watch your videos and I thought you were really cool, but oh look, you can't answer my question. I thought that was so incredibly arrogant and rude.
Yeah, it made it look really bad.
Physics question. I'm stupid because I couldn't answer a physics question.
Which I couldn't either, but ask me about Tudor England and I'll run you ragged for 3 hours.
Oh, we should have a conversation. I'd love to hear you talk for 3 hours about Tudor England. I love history.
I'm a history nerd.
Oh,
I'm a history nerd, so anytime.
You should have this is one thing I've really wanted to do is have history hangouts.
But you know what? I would love to. I have access to the community channel. The last 3 weeks have been super busy for me, but I've been wanting to do something like that. So
you'll have to make sure and hit me up when you do it. I could even probably bring in, I don't know if you know, Richard. I don't know if he uses his, the history. I don't know if I don't think he uses his real name here anymore. But he's just working on his PhD in history, and he knows a lot of stuff too. I bet I could drag Richard and be a lot of fun.
Sweet.
Because there's so much in history.
I prefer to call him by his screen name, Rich Fag.
Rich Fag. There you go.
Yeah, I'm leaving on vacation in a week, but September is looking better.
Well, it's always best to plan ahead anyway.
Well, there you go. You found something you can have a hangout on.
To get off history before we.
Yeah,
well, I also want to have. Oh, I just want to say one last thing.
My internet is not the greatest right now. Sorry.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I always have problems. But what I wanted to mention is, Steve, if you remember, Jack and Joe Sunseed tried to do that same thing with Dr. Rana.
Yeah.
And you shut them down.
Very quickly.
They were trying to play gotcha.
Yeah.
And they complained about it later.
Yep.
Oh, well, he cut us off. We had him on the ropes, kind of thing.
Yeah, I know. But see, here's the thing. I've learned my lesson with them. I've given them more than opportunities. Joe's not so bad. Joe will at least back off at some point. He'll bitch about it later, but he'll back off. So Joe's always welcome in any of my hangouts. But when it comes to like Jack and Godless and Josh, you won't be seeing them in my bigger hangouts any longer for that very reason. I mean, I've given them more than opportunities to interact like normal human beings.
I mean, I think if you make it plain to them, right? Like, this isn't something like where with Ronnie, like I could tell him, like, hey, don't act this way, and he's going to do it, right? Like someone could tell G-Man, to bring it back to G-Man, how many times did people tell him, hey, it's not a good idea to be on your camera right outside your workplace where we can see where you work?
Quite a few.
Right? I don't think that I don't think that neither Jack nor Josh, I can't speak for Godless, I think she's fucking crazy, but I think with them, if you just make that clear,
and you're probably right.
I also don't know if you have, like, that's the other thing.
I have, but you're right.
To play devil's advocate.
No, I agree with you.
I have no clue. Yeah,
I do agree with you, and I have. I think that if like, for example, Josh didn't really get out of line. It was Godless, right? Let's just make it clear that she went nuts. I think Jack just plays into that, but I think Jack does know how to have a civil discussion if he wants to. Godless, I'm not so sure of, because like you said, she could just be fucking crazy. Let's be honest here. So
just turn into a screeching banshee for no reason.
It made her look really bad, in my opinion. Really, really bad. So, like I said, Drag, when you talk to Aron, let him know that you look at it. It made her look far worse than it did him by all accounts.
He did say that he needed you to kiss his ass through Skype. So whenever you can get on that.
Yeah, I don't think he said that. I don't even have his Skype. I got DPRs, but I don't know if he has. I could get it, but I got his email, so whatever. But no, I'll probably toss him out an apology thing at some point if you think that it's warranted. If not, if you can just relay it. I don't want to drag it up again because he was fine last night, after the hangout. So seriously, if you go watch the hangout we had, the post show, not many people watching. We're like 20 or 30 people. I wanted to keep it really small for a reason. And you know what? We were having fun. Aron was laughing. It was enjoyable. So before we go,
I'm sorry.
What's that?
I was going to say, I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah, well, you know, I announced these things. We're going to move on a little bit. I want to get Brian in here real quick. I know you do. You're a busy woman. But Brian's here. Brian, I've been trying to get a hold of for a few. Brian, are you there? Or are you just going to sit there and look pretty? Damn it, he's not even... There he is. Brian. Is your mic working, Brian? I'm trying to find out this thing with Brian. He has this... liberal troll guy that he's been trying to engage with, and I don't know the whole situation. I've just been gleaning off of it from Twitter. So I was hoping to kind of ask him what more details was of it is, but Brian, I don't think your mic's working.
Is it D's Nuts 42069?
Is that the troll that he's talking about?
I'm asking you.
What about him? What? What, Richard?
Never mind.
Brian is these nuts?
Oh, Keaton, but I got your joke. I respect you for that joke.
Okay.
Fuck everyone else. I liked it.
There you go.
I thought it was funny.
There's nothing better than when someone doesn't laugh, but they say, I got your joke and I liked it.
Oh, ouch.
Well, I was laughing. I was just...
on the inside.
I had my mic muted.
On the
You're
inside.
laughing on the inside, yeah.
So, but back to Brian. Brian, can you speak, or can you type in the chat? Because we're not hearing anything from you. Oh, he says getting mic. 1 second. Okay, cool, got it. Thanks, Brian. You out there in limbo, you know.
Yeah, like I said, I just want to get a quick update with him because I didn't really know what the hell the situation was. I know he invited this guy to a hangout. And he posted a picture of himself, all lonely. He posted to me and to Armored Skeptic, and I felt bad for him.
Can you guys hear me now?
There you go. Yeah, you looked all lonely there, Brian, in that photo. I was like, man, nobody wants to come play with you. By the way, have you ever gotten into acting?
Yeah,
did you ever do any acting?
Did I ever do any acting?
Yeah, you have that look of some like actor that I've seen before. Look at that. Look at this. Does he look like a total actor? Like he'd be on...
No.
No? Oh, okay,
no.
All right, so tell me what's going on. What's the situation
I didn't
with that?
post the picture of all my fun stuff. I actually cropped the picture to my face, so that way people didn't get to see all the video game nerd stuff around here.
So tell what's actually the deal with this guy?
I'll give a brief background about what's going on. I guess I've become very disgruntled towards my fellow liberals with how they've been handling social and political discourse.
Traitor.
And I've been trying to engage many of people, and they'll just post memes to me. They'll just be like, bye, Felicia, or they'll just be like, you know, like, it's over, like posting like Ferris Bueller stuff, to which I troll on them and say, oh, they're posting Deadpool stuff since Deadpool lampooned Ferris Bueller. So it's just nonsense, the whole thing. And I would like to talk to them and kind of this whole thing of we need to have more conversations and less of turning down the conversations.
So what are they advocating that you disagree with? I mean, what's the main contention? And obviously, I'm not a big liberal fan either, but you know, what's the big contention going on?
Well, I'm a pretty big liberal. I'm more center when it comes to economics, but I'm very, very social liberal.
Okay, well that's fair enough. I'm social liberal.
The big issue was the true Puka is his name. Had a video calling Armored Skeptic alt-right. And so I wrote a critique on the Great Debate Community, and then he tweeted about my post about it, just being like, oh, this guy thinks he took me down, and he doesn't even reply to it. And so it's just, to me, a reply. Tell me
it's all words. He hasn't really engaged or addressed anything you've said.
He won't engage anything.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean, also, he's got like 10,000 subscribers, though. Like, that's the thing, right? It's like, I think I see where you're coming from, but I also would say, like, just to play, you know, to disagree with you a bit is not everyone has time to respond to everyone. Like, there have been times where I've been like, you know what, I'm like, where Matt Bell has said something shitty, and I've just been like, listen, like, I don't have the time or the energy to respond to it. And like, yeah, that's a shitty thing to do to someone, but in that, you know, I've also been in that position, so I can understand.
Yeah, it's hard to respond to everything. We all get a lot of messages a day. But has he responded to you at all, Brian? I mean, in any way?
No, one of his followers did, and was just like trolling me as I trolled him back. So it's I mean, I do understand there's a lot of critique out there, but my biggest thing was he wouldn't address anybody. So in the like dislike ratio on his video got to, I'd say about 60-40 like dislike. And so I wish he would address someone and maybe say, oh, I was a little bit wrong, but or here's why I defend my stance. And I just can't take these people who secure themselves in their echo chamber, because I defend liberalism, I defend feminism, I defend the wage gap and how it actually exists, which I could get into as a different topic. And these people who don't use fact-based discussion or can't stand to scrutiny, I have a problem with.
Has Greg addressed it at all? I mean, does Greg know the feud? One sec. Does Greg know?
He loved my post.
Okay, so Greg does know what the feud is.
He loved the Me All Alone post. I was very happy.
Oh, wait, Greg saw the post in the Great Debate community?
No, he saw the tweet with Me All Alone, pointing at the "You're All Alone" thing.
Yeah, that was a funny tweet. Yeah, he looked all like pathetic.
I tried.
he's just sitting there hanging out by himself. It's like you're alone in this hangout by yourself, you lonely bastard. It's kind of thing.
I'll put that in the chat so people can see it and maybe like it and see my random crap posting on Twitter. But yeah. I don't know. It's who knows. I would love to have this discussion because I think liberalism has problems right now. I think we're in trouble.
I think everyone has problems.
I feel that both sides.
What is driving me absolutely nuts right now is that you can't have even a modicum of disagreement without being completely shit on. You know, like if you say, okay, I agree with 99% of what you're saying, but hey, this one point, maybe I want to discuss that, and they just turn on with the labels, and it doesn't matter what it is. If it's about feminism, oh, you're a misogynist then, and rape apologist or whatever, and it drives me crazy. Like, how are you ever going? How are you ever going to have a conversation and come to some kind of consensus or anything?
That's not the goal. That's and I've actually had this conversation with somebody. Everybody here knows. I'm not going to say who, but you and I spoke offline about this, and it is very interesting because I actually did a social experiment. Not so many people know about. Tony, are you masturbating and listening to rock music? What's going on? Okay, so I did a little experiment.
You got me.
Teach his own, man. You do what you do on a Sunday. Go ahead.
I was joking with some folks, and I said, you know what? It's gotten to the point that when I see some like radical black feminists, womenist, whatever you want to call them, and some of their critiques of black men as a whole, and in no way, shape, or form is that generalization. Hasty one at that. They mirror what I've seen on Stormfront, and almost word for word. And it's shocking. So I said, I wonder something. I wonder if we've gotten to a point where dialogue has died and that no critical thinking has occurred. Nuance is fucking dead and buried. And that you are simply identified based on the labels that you carry and how many ever people that you have on your friends list who also has that label. So I did something interesting.
By the way, you're my black friend, so I'm not racist. I'm just letting you know that.
Sorry, Drag. I had Isaiah first. I really don't need you, but it's glad to have you aboard.
Funniest thing is that I say the most racially insensitive shit to Drag, just because we try to offend each other. Yeah.
Well, Jews are like that.
Difference. But no one is going to police like what we say to each other. Like that's ridiculous. But what I think fairly interesting, I went to YouTube and I found a really racist comment toward black men, and it was I'm not going to say who wrote it, but I wrote in there, is this from a radical black feminist or non-black? You be the judge. And the way it reads, you can't tell. There's literally no way to tell. What it does is that it hinges on your perception of groups, those two choices. And it's funny because it's from an Asian woman who doesn't like black men. But everybody who who I posed this question to thought it was a radical black feminist. Not one person had gotten it right.
Isn't it amazing?
And I thought it was very, very interesting that something like that could happen. I was thinking about, but it's like an actual experiment and seeing what the responses would be, because I've seen so many people now just for sheer emotion to make their arguments. And I've been called racist. I've been called misogynistic. I've been called all types of names because I've disagreed that someone's victimhood does not give them just like this, what is it called, carte blanche, in a conversation.
Yes.
To say whatever they want, and that's how the conversation, the lack thereof, has happened over the last few years, and it's sad that it's gotten to that point. But yeah, I think it goes a bit deeper than that, because people are under the impression that they're critically thinking about these issues when they're not. They're not actually going, okay, information towards something that I believe. Do I have these fact-based positions, and have I rigorously tried to disaffirm some of them? And very few people have actually tried to do that.
Well, Drag, that one guy that you had somehow you got me involved with, the guy that was like, oh well, if you're black, you can stare at the sun during the total eclipse, you don't need glasses. That guy, right? For me pointing out how dumb that really was, I am the great white demon, right? It's like, how is this even a racial fucking issue?
When you have a narrative, and then you profess all kinds of crazy shit that's associated with it. I've had to tell so many people that because you have melanin, doesn't mean that white people don't have melanin. White people have a different type of melanin called pheomelanin. And so many people get upset with me when I say that, but it's the fucking truth. I'm sorry, I can't change genetics because you have a particular narrative.
Nor can you make superheroes out of people thinking that they can stare at the sun and not cause damage at some point. It just doesn't work like that.
And what I wanted to say here, you've all heard the saying, everything old is new again.
Yeah.
I can tell you this from experience, a lot of what we're seeing right now parallels what happened in the 1970s. Same stuff. For me, this has been there, done that.
Same rhetoric, different generation.
We'll get through this. People, as I've often said, people have a poor sense of history. And people argue about the mainstream media, and people are saying it's so liberal. Well, I've seen several articles lately in which the mainstream media has misrepresented the left side of things. And again, this is nothing new. I can give you examples. I remember things that I saw back in the 1970s and how they were later reported in the media, while the media was trying to sound like it was being non-biased, good at being biased and trying to sound like they're non-biased. The same thing is happening today, and we're seeing this kind of division, and we really have to fight against this. We can't allow the same sorts of things to happen. It led to deep divisions. It led to deep divisions in different movements. I was involved in the early stages of second wave feminism. I am a lesbian. I was involved in the lesbian feminist movement. And I was actually one of the pioneers of the lesbian feminist movement in Los Angeles. Well, in the greater Los Angeles.
Sorry. Just had to.
Yeah, I'm not.
My inner
I knew someone would do it.
There. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know, that's okay.
Jade knows how liberal I am, so it's.
I know, but yeah, he can call me anything he wants, and I can give a damn. But that's what friends do. That's what friends do. And the problem is, you have people. Today we're using the word triggered. We didn't have that word back then, but you had the same sort of scenario. People that were so ultra sensitive that everything set them up. For example, it's a Black Students Association at the University of Southern California, a representative of it. Now, let's be clear. Just because one representative speaks up doesn't mean the whole group agrees with this. It's the Black student group, and it's the overarching group. It's the group that combines or talks to all the other Black student groups at the University of Southern California. made a comment about how racism is so prevalent today because the horse, the University of Southern California is the Trojans, right? As in not as in the condom, as in the ancient Greeks.
I don't follow it. I don't follow now, Jade. You lost me with Trojan not being the Trojan man.
Yeah, okay. So the Trojan...
Sorry, I'm a child. Can no one else be childish?
You can be childish. So the Trojan, not the condom, the representative of the ancient Greek, rides a white horse into the stadium and rides around the stadium before games. This goes back like 50 years, and there's a whole history to it. Well, the horse is named Traveler. And this woman was upset. She says, see, you've got a white horse that's named after General Lee's horse.
So the horse is racist.
Yeah. The thing is, the original horse was named Traveler with one L. General Lee's horse had two L's. The original horse, some guy bought. He rode it in the Rose Parade. The USC Trojans thought it'd be cool to ask him if he'd ride it around the, for one of their games, and it stuck. So we're on our 9th Traveler, I think. So because the original horse was white and named Traveler, every other horse has been white and named Traveler. That's all there is to it. There's no connection whatsoever to General Lee and a horse named Traveler. Think about the name Traveler. Wouldn't it be kind of a normal name for a horse? It's not a common name. USC says it's a common name. It's not a common name, but it's not hard to understand that this would be a name for a horse.
Yeah, it's just anything that people can make an issue out of.
You do have to understand. It's just like, me calling someone, Hitler. It's not a common name, but, some people could say, well, it really doesn't mean that. If the only horse named Traveler, if the only horse named Traveler is the one from General Lee that everyone kind of associates with it, and then you have another white horse named Traveler, I can see how someone can get the impression that these two things are linked in some way.
I like my racism overt and clear. If I gotta know that much history, then I don't care anymore.
I would have never made that connection, to be honest with you guys. Not gonna lie, never would have made that connection.
Mic check. Can you hear me, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you, Pseudo.
Hey, Drag, I realize you're having a hurricane down there in Texas. I've got 40 acres of land I could sell you. It comes with a mule. Are you interested?
Oh, man, that sounds like an awesome plan. Hey, wait a second.
I'm sorry. That historical racism again, where you got to read a history book to know what's going on. Sorry.
I prefer the avert too. I don't like the the ones I got to think of too much. You heard it right here. We like our racism avert people, so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny because when you don't have to, I don't know. Maybe you guys are right. Maybe being black in America, you start reading the tea leaves too much. But hey, I've been called a nigger before. I lived in the South and was told I couldn't go into certain places. And sometimes it wasn't overt. Sometimes it was like, hey, maybe you just don't want to go. Maybe you guys are right. Maybe until somebody says, get the hell out of here, you fucking nigga. Then, maybe I have that until that point. But sometimes it's just not obvious. And I think that's the problem that people are dealing with now. How do you know the obvious from the non-obvious?
Yeah, that's true. And there is subtle racism out there that people give. There are some passive-aggressive racism out there. There's no question about that, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, I gotta do my e-penis thing.
There's also
real quick.
some aggressive racism that was in and around Charlottesville a couple of weeks ago. There's also that.
Yeah, I think a lot of areas.
Look, there was aggression on both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Both sides.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah.
We might as well take a dip into politics just for a few seconds while we're going that way. But I want to do my e-peen real quick, since we have 100 people watching and poor Ronnie has 3. But of course his channel's taking over the internet.
Still alive?
So
what is he even talking about?
He's speaking with an atheist on intelligent design. Whatever. Go watch it if you guys want to.
I do want to say this about Ronnie and my history with him. I would like to apologize to Steve McRae for being on Ronnie's side for a while.
Apology accepted. It happens. People. You're not the first. You won't be the last. You're welcome.
I mean, we kind of expect.
For a while.
What? No, but why? Like, in what sense?
I was in some of Ronnie's hangouts. It's like, oh yeah, the yeah, it was. I believe the cartoon version Ronnie was painting you guys. So, I apologize.
The evil, all the atheists in this circle jerk that we all just attack Christians left and right. And by the way, they actually said that.
I kind of figure that folks I haven't seen before that are on Ronnie's side, he's just at some point lied to them.
Oh, yeah.
So I try not to hold it against them because from what I've learned from Odie and a few others, that he will actually just lie to people.
G-Man has actually said that I go out of my way to attack Christians. He said this in like three hangouts ago, whatever it was. And I've asked every Christian that I've known so far, pretty much, in some regards, not one of them has ever seen that. So I made a comment on it. G-Man has another claim out there that I've attacked Christians. Where has this ever taken place? Because it has never taken place on my channel.
He was saying in the last hangout that all we ever do is attack Christians. And while sometimes Muslims, because, monotheism, but you never attack, any other deity, or you never talk about
I don't attack either.
Pagans or... I know, but he was saying all of us in general, too. And I'm like, I've talked about paganism and other stuff all the time. Like, what the hell? Of course, he wouldn't know. He doesn't know who the fuck I am, thankfully. But
I've been in these discussions. I've been in these discussions for as long as Hangouts has existed.
Yeah.
And I have rarely been attacked, and usually by the Clown Car Posse.
True.
Funny that.
Isn't that funny?
True.
I have had a couple of atheists go at me. One of them I've had a conversation with a couple times. Not going to mention any names. I've had a conversation with a couple of times, and I don't really mind him because he's kind of dense, and it was difficult to kind of get concepts through to him. So I think that's was his problem. So that doesn't bother me. The other one, I was in a particular conversation, and Steve kicked him from the room and banned him. Steve may remember that.
Vaguely. Who was it again?
We don't speak its name.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well,
we do not speak that name.
Okay, don't say it 2 more times. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if you remember that.
From here on,
Steve,
Jade referred to him as Downspout.
Okay, Downspout. That's good.
Yes. I do remember that very distinctly now. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, it's got so bad that I actually, on the other channel, I've specifically pointed out that he's not welcome in that channel.
Yeah.
It's in the rules.
Yeah,
so,
and so that's it. That's it. 2 atheists, one of whom just has comprehension problems. And so I don't care. I avoid talking to him mostly because it's as difficult as talking to G-Man.
But you've never seen me ever attack Christianity in any way, shape, or form.
The point I'm making is I've never seen. Well, okay, I've seen people critique Christianity, and I've seen people critique it very heavily from time to time. But I've never seen an attack on Christians.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen an attack on me as a Christian, with those 2 exceptions. And as I said, one guy was just freaking dense, and the other was the spout master.
I get more flack from my position from atheists than I do from theists. Let's be honest here. So I do.
Right.
That is so true.
Yeah, it's not a lie. So, but it's just so funny. They have this weird, distorted image, and I think Drag's exactly right. I know Ronnie lies to these people, and eventually some of them do migrate over. Odeon was one of the first who said, "Yeah, Steve, I mean these they're just lying the fuck out of over there," and now he's an integral part of the community over here. So I think anybody that looks at them objectively is going to see that, and I rely on that, and it's just a matter of time. So that's why I've got 100 people watching. He has 6 right now. And it's the same little.
There's no growth.
Yeah,
there's no growth. He's saying the same thing he's been saying for the past 5 years. There's nothing new.
Nothing new. It's intelligently designed because of synthase.
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
And the other thing is they can consistently say that all Steve does is complain about them. That there's nothing on his channel. I got to talk to Mary Schweitzer on this channel. I've been in a hangout with both Dr. Rana and Dr. Ross. I've been on this channel. I've got to talk to a lot of other people. Steve has guests in to talk, They've been doing math hangouts. Tip woman here and I are going to sort of blast through the history wall here. And I want to do some, and I'm going to be doing some biology, some hangouts in the future. But I also want to do some hangouts on the English language. I love this language, and I want to talk a bit about the history of the language and how we went through the vowel shift. You know,
are you going to do that? Jade, are you going to do that on your channel or the Great Debate Community channel?
No, I'm going to do it on the Great Debate Community channel.
Cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be a nice place to do it too.
Yeah, because I want to talk about things like the Great Vowel Shift. How many people know about that? Or about how?
Oh, I don't know.
I would listen
to make sure my
Jade,
English
how about the
good.
Inkhorn controversy?
Right, and and you know how the Norman language influenced English. One of my favorite things, and I'm even going to put that up when I do it as my icon, is this old saying: English, the result of Norman men-at-arms trying to pick up Saxon barmaids.
Nice.
That's cool.
Of that, I'm going to get a T-shirt with that on, I swear, because that whole era is fascinating from a historical point of view, because the history comes in here with the English language as well.
Yeah, do it.
From a historical point of view, but you know, also from the linguistic point of view. There's so much to this huge language, including the influence from India. When you look at the East India Company and the Raj and things like that. I mean, the East India Company was like a country all of its own. But you know, where do our words come from? Where does our language come from? Because English is dominant.
East India Trading Company?
A trading company. That's a fascinating subject.
Well, but you make
you mean the drug cartel, right, Jade?
Yeah.
But to bring it back,
but yeah, so the thing is.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up history.
Yeah, I know. The thing is that well, we can bring up the opium wars too while you're at it. The thing is, this whole Great Debate community is expanding, and yes, there are just regular conversations. There are conversations about religion. There are conversations about philosophy. There are conversations about science. There are conversations about math. So for them to characterize this so narrowly shows two things. One, they don't bother to watch. Two, they probably look at what is being proposed, and their minds selectively choose which things they want to remember.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about obviously on the weekend, the Sunday show. Ronnie and G-Man get brought up. That's part of the Sunday show. But I mean, during the week, I don't really discuss them that often. Matter of fact, if anybody's been discussing G-Man, it's been Drag, like 3 times a day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just yeah, so I mean, Drag is this. I mean, that's more power to him. That's not a slight. But I'm not running hangout after hangout after hangout just talking about G-Man. It's just
if he wants to make that argument, then I told him.
What
Go ahead, MP.
No, it's like if you guys don't mention Ronnie or me and probably G-Man to some extent, they probably wouldn't get that much traffic because we're the only thing that's really keeping them up. Before they thought it was kind of reciprocal with Steve, like Steve had to mention Ronnie to get views and be relevant, but then Steve stopped mentioning him and the whole Great Debate community thing started blowing up. So I think that's kind of hurting Ronnie's feelings because he's over there now just really talking to the void.
Yeah, I understand there's nobody in the live chat. He's blocked everybody.
G-Man tried to make a deal with me that he would get Ronnie in a hangout with me and on one-on-one if I got him an audience with Aron Raw or Matt Dillahunty. Oh, I forgot to mention.
Never gonna happen.
He just said in that last video that he would never talk to Aron Raw or any of those guys.
Well, hang on. I just found out. Aron had told me that Matt Dillahunty now has a publicist. He has an agent.
Ooh.
Right. That's why the chances of him dropping into a hangout is slim to none. Right, especially with G-Man, never going to happen. Right. Aron, at least will come in and he'll come into the Great Debate. He'll talk to us. He actually had fun last night. Contrary to that shit that happened to Goddess Girl, he did have a good time afterwards. But yeah, he's not going to talk to G-Man. I mean, he laughed about it, thinking that like, oh yeah, like I'm going to debate G-Man. Yeah, no, not going to happen. So G-Man has burned his bridges with these people. So yeah, not going to happen.
I think that's why he's going on about why he would never go talk to them now, because he knows that no one is going to want to talk to him.
It's saving face.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wouldn't want to talk to them.
And you're trying to break down something simple. if there's a really hot girl that rejects a random guy, you're gonna go, oh well, I didn't want to sleep with her anyway.
Yeah, I didn't want to touch that.
No,
guys.
Yeah,
she's actually a dude.
You guys want to? I don't really attack G-Man, but one of the examples I've had with G-Man is I was on Zulu's channel moderating for him. Okay, but so G-Man was, for example, I gotta get the story exactly right. It's on Zulu's channel if you guys want to fact check me. It's basically an entire fight. To go a little bit of background, Peter and Hebrew Warrior Perry go after an entire cursing rant for the past 40 minutes of them pissing at it, seeing who's got the bigger you know what. And then G-Man comes in. Zulu asks everybody to mute the thing in, and G-Man doesn't. I mute his mic because that was Zulu's orders. Alvin is talking about incantation and magic and stuff like that, and I think Alvin's a Christian, maybe. I don't know fully. I don't want to strawman Alvin.
Alvin? Yeah, Alvin's a Christian. He's pretty mainstream.
Okay.
He's a nice kid.
Okay, Alvin's a Christian. Okay, I want to be sure, but. And then G-Man goes no. Alvin's trying to explain himself, and G-Man berates and interrupts Alvin constantly, and I'm muting him, and he's like, G-Man goes to me and is like, "Who are you?" And by the way, I've been in his channel before. He doesn't remember me. And I'm like, G-Man, I've been in your hangouts before. Why are you muting me? Because you're interrupting Alvin. I'm gonna block you. I'm like, oh. And I forget who it was. It was Kumba said this. Wow, so disrespectful to the moderator. So there's my story.
That sounds like G-Man. Yeah,
you've kind of summed up
the
experience with G-Man on any given day.
He
has very poor impulse control, and it's just to be expected when he's already kind of hype. It's really hard to calm him down unless you put him in a fucking corner and make him calm down.
He was the reason why mods are created.
He wants to be. Yeah, I mean, he is one of those guys who just needs to be put in a corner for a little while. But long story short, he does this thing where he claims that he wants to see and meet and talk and laugh and yada yada yada. When you tell him that he's not worth your time, he gets upset. He really gets upset. He did the same thing with Sam. You remember how many videos he made, and he called me trying to, hey, I want to talk to scientist Sam. Everyone said, let me talk about scientists. I want to talk to scientist Sam. So I said, hey, Sam, this Yahoo wants to have a fucking discussion with you. And so, Sam's like, all right, how much money am I getting for this? And so I said, well, you get the honor of, losing brain cells. And so, of course, Sam declines. And so I tried to break the news to G-Man while taking a bath, and he goes irate. And so that's why there's 3 videos on his channel now about how, he doesn't ever want to debate Scientist Sam and how much he thinks he's so full of just knowledge and stuff. He's not so smart. If we talk about the Bible.
Well, I mean, you got to remember, G-Man knows more than PZ Myers in biology, so he might give, Sam a run.
So basically,
just ask him, he'll tell you.
So basically, whenever G-Man says, I refuse to debate somebody, it's because they've already declined to talk to him.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And he did the same thing today in a different way. He actually said, well, a lot of people don't watch my channel anymore, but I planned that. So wait a minute, you planned to have people stop watching your channel. Let's think about this. Because he is upset.
G-Man said that?
He said this, yes. It was all a master plan that he had. His channel has no growth lately. Ronnie's has no growth. My channel's growing, and I think that they're looking at it going, okay, what the fuck? I mean, I'm not at G-Man's numbers because he had a head start from Duncan Peasants, but I got to tell you, if you actually look at his things, nobody's giving a shit about watching his, especially Ronnie. Nobody even watches him live anymore, hardly. And then it doesn't even matter because most of the time he deletes the video. And he has said Oh well, I privatized it, but if you want to see it,
E-penis than both G-Man and
I
Ronnie,
do.
even though G-Man is black and that violates some racial stereotype. Drag, I rely upon you to then validate that stereotype. And
I don't know if that applies to E-peens, though. I don't know if that stereotype applies.
Oh, you can have a 16-foot one if it's on the internet.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, I got there one day.
One day.
But you know, one thing I did want to say is that thing that did happen to Janelle with them calling, giving bad reviews. Steve and Dragnot knows that actually happened to me. Somebody actually called my job, inquiring, if I was actually an assistant district attorney. And, it bothered me for a little while. But then at the point, I was like, you know what? F it. It is what it is. So, when you do put your name out here, if somebody does find your name, people will test it. I don't know if the person was an atheist or a theist, but they did call my job. And it got to the point where it was like, well, should we investigate to make sure this is not like a threat because of the cases you run? And I was like, no. It's probably just some Yahoo online just trying to, see if I actually do what I said I do. So
yeah, MP asked me specifically to keep that in a wrap.
Hold on for a second. MP, do you take responsibility for that happening?
I take responsibility. Yeah. That was totally my name that got put out there because I accidentally doxed myself. So somebody called and what more could they do? They said I was online. They wanted to make sure that I was who I said I was, and all this other stuff. So I take full responsibility.
And MP had asked me not to make an issue of that. That's why I have not mentioned it to this date. But I was very aware of it. But now that it's out there, I would like to know who that was. But if I never know, to that person who did that, you're just as much of a piece of shit as the person who left things with G-Man. It's just, this stuff is uncalled for. You do not do this stuff. So...
Yeah, I know where to find Nephilim Free's address. I'm not going to just roll up to his house because I'm bored and displaced.
Yeah, you don't do it to anybody.
That's despicable.
Yeah, you don't do it to anybody. Nephilim, any of them. These things are just off fucking limits. Now, I understand certain things, like, for example, like when it comes to Von Helen and his kids and he's neglecting them. Sure, I get that, right?
That's different.
That's different. But this malicious thing to just, fuck with people's real lives, knock it the fuck off, people. Seriously. But anyways, with that note,
before this isn't the first time, but people take responsibility for what happens. That's why when I'm online and people see my Facebook, it says that I work for Circuit City. If somebody believes that, they're fucking stupid. But that's why I don't put my actual employers.
But I used to work for Circuit City,
so
yeah.
All right, well, let's bring it to a close.
I'm currently an employee there.
Yeah, I know. to a defunct business. So let's bring it to a close. Anybody got some last thoughts they want to add on this? This was actually a really good Sunday show. I'm happy. So, anybody want to close with anything? Any last words?
Red Cross, folks. Red Cross is trying to do things for people. So
yeah, that's a good organization.
Another organization, there are people who have lost their homes. I'm fortunate enough to still have mine, as far as I know. But if you can, if you're in the area, see if you can help with disaster relief. I'm going to see what I can do when I get back. If anything, if it's just cooking people food, or just offering some medical help or something, I'm going to try and see. I'm not sure if I can do anything, but if you are able to, it would go toward a good cause, because there are people who have had shit happen to them and who probably do deserve it a lot more than G-Man. So it is what it is.
That's a good way to leave it. That's awesome. Thank you, Drag. And if you are in that area, I'll use the word prayers as a euphemism to like good thoughts. We're with you guys. I'm hoping that there's no more fatalities and no more problems in Houston. They get it resolved and the flood goes away and people are safe. So anyways, we'll see. Probably I probably won't have a hangout tomorrow, but probably on Tuesday. So with that, take care.